Sport Chalet was a sporting goods chain that opened in 1959 and closed in 2016. Welcome to another episode of Throwback Thursday. So stay tuned on a random Thursday for a new remade video of an old video that I did before. Thanks.
Sport Chalet, we take it to the limits. Sport Chalet, we'll take you to the limit. Sport Chalet, we'll take you to the limit.
Sport Chalet, we take you to the limit.
Now it's your turn.
Sport Chalet, we'll take you to the limit.
Go Target!
In 1959, the first store opened in La Cañada, Flint Ridge. Norbert Olbers, then in his early 30s, lived in a small house several blocks away from the site of his original store, which was located along Foothill Boulevard as it passed through La Cañada. The sporting goods store opened on April 1st, 1959 by newlyweds Norbert Olbers, a former baker, and his wife Irene, who bought a ski and tennis shop in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California for $4,000, equaling a $2,500 check plus a negotiation from Milo Svoboda, the original owner, whose store had only been open for 4 months. It was a converted furniture store on Foothill Boulevard in La Cañada, just down the mountain from some of Southern California's busiest hiking trails. The first store measured 2,000 square feet and focused on the sale of skiing gear, as the company's name suggested. He began his mountaineering and ski supply store by loaning customers equipment and asking them to return it, at which point they would pay a fair rate for the privilege. The centerpiece of the original store was the 20-foot-high fiberglass snow-painted mountain peak that demonstrated cliff cabanas, or the portaledges, the cantilevered sleeping bag harness system used by extreme rock climbers. Shortly after the grand opening of the first store, Olbers branched out to a second location and moved across the street to an old 25,000 square foot facility supermarket where the dive shop was housed in a meat locker. Though the move represented a giant leap for the startup, the expansion did not signal continued rapid growth. The third location was a former gas station nearby, presumably after Olbers decided to charge fees up front and rented ski equipment. In fact, the bid to become big began exactly 21 years after the first store was open, when Olbers established a sports chalet in Huntington Beach in June of 1981. Another sports chalet was opened in June of 1983, followed by the August 1986 establishment of a sports chalet in Mission Viejo. Stores in Point Loma and Santa Clarita were opened in 1987, and the pace of expansion picked up considerably. Olbers spearheaded the establishment of 2 stores in 1989, Beverly Hills and Marina del Rey, and another 2 in 1990 with Brea and Oxnard, none of which were smaller than 30,000 square feet, widely considered the minimum size for a superstore. Following the establishment of the stores in Brea and Oxnard in 1990, both of which featured indoor pools, Olbers opened the largest sports chalet at the time, a 44,000 square foot store complete with indoor pool that opened in June of 1991 in West Hills. A slightly larger store was opened a little more than a year later when customers first walked through a 45,000 square foot sports chalet in Burbank in August of 1992. The 2 months that followed the Burbank grand opening were the last months of Sport Chalet's existence as a private company. Competition amongst Southern California sporting goods superstores were intensifying with each passing month as mammoth retail outlets proliferated throughout the area. By November of 1992, Sport Chalet filed an IPO on the stock market. Consequently, in November, Olbers put roughly 25% of his 13-store company on the market, then used the money gained from the public offering to help finance the Sports Chalet expansion. Obers at the time was hoping to open 9 to 12 Sport Chalet stores during the ensuing 3 years, a plan that would require at least $2 million per store opening. After the IPO, he then proceeded to implement its ambitious expansion program that called for the establishment of 3 to 4 stores per year. 2 stores were opened in November of 1993, one in Torrance and another in Glendora, each which measured 40,000 square feet. During this time, Sport Chalet stores stocked merchandise that the company categorized in 9 product groups, giving each store a full spectrum of products. In addition to selling downhill skiing equipment and apparel, which contributed to the largest percentage of store sales since 1960, Sport Chalet stores stocked camping, backpacking, and mountaineering merchandise, including camping equipment rentals and scuba gear, including air compressors to refill dive tanks. Rounding out the company's merchandise lines were fishing gear, cycling gear, including bicycle repair service, general sporting goods, shoes and inline skates, racket sports, and water sports, including swimwear, water skis, and kayaks. Of the company's total sales, winter-related merchandise represented Sport Chalet's largest sporting goods category, accounting for nearly 30% of annual sales. The stores by this point were huge, generally containing more than 30,000 square feet each and some as large as 42,000 square feet. Despite their size, Sport Chalet stores avoided the trappings typically associated with massive retail stores, featuring carpeted floors and standard retail gondolas and fixtures instead of warehouse racking, structures, and concrete floors. Sport Chalet stores were upscale rather than Spartan, and several of the company's largest stores were outfitted with glass-walled pools for scuba and kayaking instruction and promotion. Sport Chalet opened 2 more stores in 1994, one in June in Rancho Cucamonga and another in August in El Cajon. Sport Chalet intensified its efforts to reduce its reliance on winter-related merchandise, striving to lessen its exposure to the vagaries of snowfall by expanding into other areas such as bicycling and inline skating. In 1996, as Sport Chalet executives were charting the company's course for the future, warm and dry weather contributed to another year of below-average snowfall. By that time, there were 18 stores that comprised the company's retail chain. By the mid-2000s, competitors began to chip away at their business. The chain faced growing competition from online retailers, discounters, and the likes of Target, whose stores carry the kind of workout merchandise and sports equipment that might interest the casual enthusiast. Sport Chalet would go on to struggle financially for years, last reporting the annual profit in 2007. Norbert Olbers died in La Cañada, Flint Ridge on July 15, 2011. Sport Chalet now, at the time, operated 55 retail locations throughout California, Nevada, Utah, as well as Arizona. In 2014, Sport Chalet was sold to Vestis Retail Group for $17 million, as well as absorbing its current $50 million in debts. Vestis was owned by a private equity firm, Versa Capital Management. On April 16, 2016, Sport Chalet announced that all stores would close, with May 15th being the last day for customers to use gift cards and store credits, and that online merchandise sales had already been stopped. The chain had 40 stores in California, mainly in the Southland, according to the website. It also operated 5 stores in Arizona and 2 in Las Vegas. The company didn't say how many people would be losing their jobs, but as of March 30th, 2014, the chain employed 1,200 full-time workers and 1,600 part-timers. Subsequently, Vestis Retail Group, which owned the Eastern Mountain Sports and Bob's Stores sporting goods chains, as well as Sport Chalet, announced it had filed for bankruptcy protection and reorganization under Chapter 11. By June 2016, all stores had closed. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.